Hello and welcome to a very special Contending at the Water Cooler podcast. I'm Contending co-founder Megan McLachlan, and I'm here with a very special guest to talk about the brand new Netflix documentary series, Amy Bradley is Missing. Very special guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, thank you so much, Megan, for having me on. I'm super excited. I'm Lauren Cohen, the director of programming of Miami Film Festival.
Yay! I was gonna say, like, you and I go way back, and you put on such a good festival every year. I just saw Oh Hi, which I missed at Miami,
Yes!
but I thought of you when I watched it, and it was so good. So
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
you always
Well, I
have some
mean,
great
for
stuff.
the listeners, Megan and I became friends pretty much over Instagram because we are both hardcore Babygirl fans. So,
Yes, yes.
I was like, we're similar people. I knew we'd get along right away. So
And then when you were like, "Oh, I'm into true crime," I was like, "Wait, stop! Like, what? You're into true crime too? Like,
yeah, exactly. I know. Sorry, I think my
yeah."
computer just froze.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. But yeah, so actually you're the one who alerted me to the story of Amy Bradley and the documentary series that was coming out. Um for those who haven't watched, they should stop what they're doing and go watch it right now. But so I'll introduce a little bit. Amy Bradley is Missing is a three-part documentary series from directors Ari Mark and Phil Lott about how a young woman named Amy Bradley went missing off a cruise ship in 1998 and has never been found, despite sightings of her in Carousel through the years and Barbados. I found the series incredibly captivating, but Lauren, I know you've probably consumed more about this story than anybody I know. How does Amy Bradley is Missing? How did it hold up for you?
So it was super interesting. I've seen so many different specials on this. I've been, aware of this case for like a decade because it was on an episode. This is super random, but of course, most people are familiar with the Natalie Holloway case. When she went missing, obviously many years ago, following her disappearance, her mother started a show called, oh my gosh, well, I'm forgetting the name at the moment, but it was a missing person case called Vanished.
Oh,
And it was, I think it only lasted for about 2 seasons, and it was following cases similar to her daughter's of missing person cases that were never solved. And it was with the intention of bringing awareness to the public and, of course, trying to get tips or information from somebody, who saw something or may know something, and because of the media attention. So I saw this on this very random show that most people have never heard of, hosted by Beth Holloway, like over 10 years ago. And I thought it was the craziest thing I ever heard. So then I kind of went to the, every couple of years or every however long I would just kind of Google Amy Bradley. Like, it's one of those things that maybe it got solved and it wasn't ever a big enough case that it would be on headlines on our
yeah.
TVs or on our, computer screens. Of course, there was never any information, never any updates. And then it was on another missing person case that I watched called a show called Disappeared, which has been on for about 10 plus years. And that's also is a much more popular ID TV show that follows unsolved missing person cases. So then I watched that special, have consumed as much as I can find online about it. So this was super interesting to me because this had some information that actually was not in previous specials. Then there were some things that were left out. I feel like, between all the different specials, the three main ones, I feel like I kind of have a pretty full picture. But the most interesting thing about this one was that in the previous coverage I've ever seen in the case, they never mentioned that Amy was gay. And I
Really?
thought that was fascinating because, in at first glance, you would say, why is that pertinent
Right.
information?
Yeah.
But I do think the fact that this one has, an interview with her girlfriend, it felt like something that, and then you find out that Amy's parents were not entirely, supportive or not, thrilled about when she came out. I feel like it does add shades to the case that are
Yeah.
that are interesting.
Definitely, because then that supports people's theories that she jumped, which is what some
It
people say,
what
or fell.
Right. It adds
Yeah.
not a motive. It adds a level of could she have been struggling with her mental state because of her lack of, her family's lack of acceptance. That's one thing. But what I think is interesting is it to me, it also colors like what would have her, for me, I was like, was she, interested in Yellow, the band member? Was it a kind of a
Right.
romantic thing for me if I was hanging out a lot with somebody on a cruise ship of opposite? It would, you imagine, be a romantic interest. If you met someone,
Yeah.
you're dancing, you're drinking, you're partying, you're going out till 5 a.m., maybe leaving the dance and going somewhere else. That would typically be what I would assume is the narrative behind that. And so if
Yeah.
it's someone who's, if she's gay, I'm kind of like, well, what was happening here? That definitely is what almost more than the suicide thing, which I've never bought. I'm just like, they're talking about all the, flirty and sexual interest people on the ship were giving her. And I'm like, is this kind of, I don't know the right phrasing. Is this something her parents were projecting on her because they wanted her to be straight? If
That's
they're
really
saying
interesting.
every
Yeah.
guy's eyes, heads would turn every time she walked in a room, it's not to say, it's not for me to comment on, is she
Right.
attractive enough? But I'm saying she wasn't a pretty girl. I wouldn't have defined it the way they did. And they were
Yeah.
so aggressive with those narratives about every waiter being interested in her and every man and everyone's flirting with her. And after find this information, I almost felt like it's something they've been saying over the years, almost as it fits better with the image of what they wanted to view their daughter than it may have been as accurate to how the
I
things played out.
I was wondering about that too, just because they seem to have, they probably told this story so many times, and then
Mhm.
things that you think about and then you overthink about, and then it's like, I'd almost wonder, you wonder what, what do they actually remember at this point, and what has been just the story
Right.
they've rehearsed for themselves. That's really fascinating, though. And you're right about Yellow, the whole Yellow of it all, which we'll get to.
Oh my God.
uh,
I literally have like a timeline here. I'm like, oh, it's so overwhelming. And I'm just like, I don't even know where to start.
So there seem to be like two camps of people with this story. As I said, there's the people who think she fell in or jumped in, and the people who think she's trafficked or was trafficked.
Mhm.
I tend to think B.
Yeah.
Do you? So you tend to think B too?
I tend to think B too. I think what's hard about this is like, we're both very into true crime. And
Yes.
typically, because I read so much about this, I try to like, talk myself off the ledge or kind of even out my thinking because I think it's very easy to get to the craziest possibility or serial killers, all these things. And sometimes when someone goes missing, it's literally not any of these things. So I try to tell myself the simplest answer is usually the right one. And I
Right.
try to think that all the time. In this case, I do understand the simplest answer is that she went overboard, right? That
Yeah.
is that she jumped or fell. Not that I think that is very easy to believe, but it is the simplest, much simpler than a mass human trafficking conspiracy from a
Conspiracy. Yes.
major cruise line.
Yeah.
That is difficult for anyone's brain to jump. It is preposterous. But I cannot keep my brain from going there with this case. And I know how ridiculous I sound, and I went on these Reddit forums, and everyone's like, "You guys are idiots who think this," and I am aware that they all think I sound crazy right now, and I still cannot take another theory. So I'm curious why do you hold on to that theory, even though we know how like hard it is to believe that someone was trafficked off a cruise ship? What kind of leads your brain to think that?
Yeah. I think so. Do you think there is a huge conspiracy, or do you think it's just as simple as Yellow just trafficked, or like Yellow had a? Because that's like I know some people were like, oh, she was smuggled out into a
I
like I
don't.
don't necessarily think that.
No, I don't think yeah, I'll say I don't think it's a conspiracy. Like there's a bunch of people from the cruise line and
Yes.
the crew. Like, no, I don't think that doesn't make any sense that they would target first of all, I think like, not that I'm an expert in human trafficking by any
Yeah.
stretch, but like, I am aware of like the idea of people who don't have families who are going to be looking for them,
Yeah.
that, someone that will disappear easily, obviously, or more easily than someone who has three family members with them on the trip does
Right.
not make sense. That for a conspiracy, that is dumb because these people are going to cause a problem. They are going to look into it. So conspiracy starts to make your head explode a little bit. That's a step too far. I do think it was yellow. What I my where I start to have pause, even though that is what I believe happened, it is how did she get from her cabin room off the ship? That's where
Yeah.
the part starts to malfunction. Had she just gone from the party where she's seen dancing with him and then was
Yeah.
never came back to the room, I think I'd say, okay, she's been drugged, she's been whatever, and
Yeah.
put in a cart and
Right.
surreptitiously taken off the ship before everyone was let off, something like that. The fact that we see at 3:40, her key card shows she went back to her room with her brother. They were hanging out on the deck or the balcony of their room, and her dad wakes up, sees her leg at
Yes.
5 a.m. or something like that, or 4 something,
And they were
falls
like
back asleep.
docking too. They were like docking, right?
Right. They're
At
in
this
the
point.
process
Yeah.
of docking. He sees, her legs laid out through the, window or whatever of his, bed, and he's laying there and then falls back asleep. And I think within like 45 minutes or something, he wakes back up and she's no longer there. And that was
Yeah.
weird enough for her dad to be like, let me get up and look for her, because I think they were sharing the room or they were all in the
Yeah.
room.
They were all in
It's
the room.
all hours of the night. So if she was partying until 3:40 and now she's not in the room, you're like, well, nobody stays awake for a full, that's pretty
Yeah.
intense to be out
Yeah.
all night, literally.
Especially with your parents too.
Like it's not, it's just, and that it was an early day because they were getting ready. It was a port day. So they were getting
Yeah.
ready to excursions and get off the cruise. And I think they were all planning on meeting at like 7 a.m., breakfast, and getting an early day on the island. So like, he was more worried than maybe someone else would be. Cruise ships have a lot of activities. There's so many things you could be doing at any hour, but it obviously kind of stirred him a little bit enough for him to get out of bed and start looking around the ship for her. I have a hard time understanding what timeline would lead from her to be out there after the night of partying. She came home. What would get her to leave the room?
Yeah.
I have one
Oh,
friend that thinks somebody could have like had drugged her and then climbed the balcony, whatever, gotten into the balcony or whatever. And I'm like, that's too many steps too far for me. I can't, that's
yeah.
too
What
hard.
if what about the theory that she was like wanted drugs and that she was going like because I kind of buy that one and even that one woman was like, oh, I heard that she wanted drugs. Like it's so crazy how many
Yeah,
different versions of Amy there are too.
of
Which
course.
yeah,
The
like that
parent version is the idealistic,
yes.
perfect. And that's sort of like I saw a meme recently that made me laugh, that it was like, you know what? I never want to light up any rooms ever.
Yes, I always think that too. Yes, I
Like
know exactly what you
if I
mean.
ever go missing and someone says she lit up a room, I'm like, no, I did not. I swear I didn't. Like, you heard it here. If I go missing, like, they're lying. I light up 0 rooms ever. Like, it's just like the go-to,
It is.
rose-colored glasses. Like, I'm sure she's an
Yes.
amazing person. Most people are, but like,
Yeah.
people talk about someone in these settings in a very specific way, and her family, in line with what we were saying before, like, have created this narrative that feels very exaggerated. That doesn't mean
Yeah.
she wasn't a pretty girl, doesn't mean people
Right.
couldn't have thought she was pretty. It has been so blown out of proportion that you start to think they are just
Bit of a
rose-colored glasses,
yeah.
telling the same story and then building on that story in their head, not even
Yeah.
with intent, but it just exacerbates over the decades. So I used to not think the drug, I used to not give that much weight. And then upon watching this one, it is the only thing that makes sense to me, because I don't
Yeah.
think she was drugged and then somehow removed from the room. She was sharing it
Yeah.
with her family. No one is coming out from the balcony. No one is getting into her room and not
Yeah.
waking up people. So like, could he been like, hey, if you meet up with me before I got the in, we could get off and
Yeah.
whatever, whatever, and then you'll jump back on, meet your parents, and whatever. That is the only semi-logical, not even fully logical, but semi-logical thing that I can think of that would get someone to willingly, you know,
Yeah.
leave.
I
But then how does that mean that she was able to leave without, when you exit a cruise, you're getting into like a foreign
Yeah,
territory. So
and she
like,
didn't take any of her stuff.
no, it wasn't like
Yeah,
her key card shows her like getting off the cruise. She didn't have her passport. So like I start to get, I don't want to sound like I'm getting into the conspiracy one, but like how many people would have to be complicit in getting her off the ship?
right,
Since I know I've been on a cruise, you don't just walk off. You're
right.
in
You don't.
another, so
Yeah.
was he like, I can roll you out in a cart and no one's gonna check? Like,
Oh, so it could have been like things that like,
mhm.
hey, I have to sneak you out to do this.
Right,
That
but then I'm
actually
like,
makes, yeah,
who would be like I'm trying to think, even if I
yeah.
wanted drugs, telling me let me
Yeah,
sneak you out.
I
And I'm
know.
like, that sounds pretty scary. Like I don't really think I
Yeah,
want to get snuck off in a cart to curse out.
right.
Like that doesn't give me positive
Yeah,
vibes. So like again, it doesn't make sense, but that makes the most sense out of the irrational options. I don't think she met up with him. Again, if it wasn't for sexual purposes, I don't see why at
yeah,
5 a.m. you would be like rendezvousing with someone
yeah.
after you've been out all night. Like you're tired, you're sleeping. So if it's not sexual in nature, they're meeting, the only other thing I can think would be like he was helping her get drugs or, for partying. So yeah, I don't think they met up and then he knocked her over the head or drugged her or something. That just feels
It could have been
really
accidental. I wonder if it was accidental too. Maybe he accidentally killed her and was like, I don't know what to do. Because then there's,
accidentally. You mean at those later out, like if
yeah, or maybe, well, yeah, I don't remember. You're right. The timeline is so
it's
like,
so hard. It's such a
it's so
small
hard.
window, but I would have thought that it was an accidental death that was covered up if
Yeah,
she wasn't seen, if we didn't have that key card
yeah,
stamp at 340. So
yeah,
that's the part that makes my brain start to malfunction. The one theory I'll say that I've only heard one theory that ever gave me any pause relating to could she have gone overboard? Because in general, I have a really hard time. Like, I don't think she
yeah.
committed suicide because
Right. I don't think she did either.
no. And like, even my thing is, okay, someone says, well, we have this message in a bottle and this clearly like distraught emotion she's having regarding her ex or her girlfriend and her family's lack of acceptance. All fair. My problem is that I do not think you go out and party and are acting generally normally where she's seen dancing on a video with yellow. So we know she's a
Yeah,
generally positive vibe. She's not saying anything like, giving away her possessions, telling her
right.
family any kind of I love you. There's no
Yeah,
anything. She's acting normal. Do I think
yeah,
you spontaneously decide to commit suicide within a 40-minute gap? Like, hey, I could jump overboard. No,
right. Yeah,
I just don't think anyone is making a suicide decision that way and having acted by all accounts normally all day. I just don't think that is how the brain works.
yeah.
So I think that has zero credibility. The only thing someone said to me that I thought was interesting was she's back at the cabin at 3:40. I think her and her brother have a cigarette or chit-chatting something. Everybody else is in bed. She's out there. It's 4 a.m. Someone said, what if she started to feel sick? She's been drinking all night.
Yeah,
Granted, I think it was like 7 light beers over 6 hours, but
right.
you've been drinking. She doesn't feel good. She feels sick. She takes the chair, pushes it
Yes,
up against the railing to stand on it because obviously the railing is too high for her to, you know, be,
right.
stands on it to try and throw up over the balcony and then is leaning over, loses her balance, and falls.
Yes.
Do I think you'd have to be crazy to push a chair up and stand on it? And if you've ever looked over a cruise ship, especially it'd be dark out still. It's terrifying. I don't think I have a really hard time believing you could have your, waist and chest over the railing and
Yeah,
lean there and not feel like genuinely terrified. Like I feel like butterflies in my stomach just thinking about it.
I
And
know, me too.
I have no fear of heights or anything. And I'm like, no, your body and brain tell you pretty quickly that like something feels really wrong with that. people have gone overboard before. It's not like it's never happened.
Right.
So
But did they
that is
find
the
their bodies? Did they find the like, would they find,
they
they would have found her body, right?
they said that in every case you don't, but considering they were pretty much at port, there's some kind of like the port specifically has specific like barricades or things
Yeah.
around it that like make it much more like almost they claim like a certainty the body would surface.
Yeah.
I know that if they were in the middle of the ocean, that opens up like that is very
Right.
complicated.
Yeah. Right. That's more
But
complicated.
but they
But
said that the tide is they were like the waves are the current is really like likely to have brought the body in. So like could it not happen? Have bodies not been found? Like sure, but the experts in the dock at least made it seem like the
yeah.
body would have absolutely washed out. And they
Yeah.
also were looking for it, I imagine, within a pretty small time frame. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, oh, we're looking the next day. I mean, they rang the alarm bells about her missing within an hour or
Right.
two
Yeah.
of, and I don't know when the search teams would have been deployed, but like I'm thinking within 3 to 4 hours easily, we should
Yeah.
have had divers
Right.
looking
Yeah.
for the body at that point. And so, I would have thought they would have found it. I think that is the only option that could be plausible to me because I don't see
Yeah.
how you fall over the railing. Even the investigator, I think it was the FBI guy, was talking about how he's 6 feet and was saying how high the
Yeah.
railing is even to a tall man, and she was relatively petite. So
Yeah.
I don't think most people do things stupid enough to be able to get over the railing. It's not a natural or easy thing to fall over.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I want to bring up the when they the one that everybody is hating them. They have their knives out for online is the cruise director. I don't know if you've seen. People are really mad at that guy, and
Don't
it's
even. I I didn't even see, I wasn't even looking on X or Twitter or anything about it. And I was feeling this like viscerally angry feelings for him. So then I specifically went on X and I typed in Amy Bradley is missing cruise director. Because I was like, I can't be the only one. This is the worst person I've ever seen. And then all I'm finding when I searched it is like, good morning to everyone, but the cruise director and
Yes.
Amy Bradley is missing. Like, hey, I mean,
Yeah.
he is a prick. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, even if there is like credence to the idea of like, you know, it's a cruise ship, 4,000 people or whatever have
Yeah.
paid. I don't fully agree with the thought process, but let's say like I've never operated you know, something like of that scale. The way he spoke was so callous and it was so he didn't even
Yeah.
pretend to care. He was talking
Right.
about, I had this bouffant hairstyle and was talking about how I must have been doing my hair when this was happening. And I'm like, you literally think people care about you and like not one
Yeah.
person on earth, even on that cruise ship, care about you. Like no one,
Yeah.
I've never thought about the cruise director on a cruise
Right.
in my life. Like you genuinely think people care and they do not. Yeah, he just couldn't even like muster like the
Any
concept of
empathy.
empathy.
Yeah.
No, not even good
Like,
pretending.
yeah. And I get what he was saying that, like, oh, I've got to take care of these other people. Like, got it. But he was very just like, sorry, I think that she fell and that's it. And like,
Based on what yeah, he said
yeah.
that without any and then like again, like I think that Royal Caribbean handled so many things wrong. I think that obviously in hindsight, like I do understand you're saying that like people paid for a service. We cannot
Yes.
decide to not provide them that service. Fair. Do I think you could have delayed opening up, you know,
Yeah.
the gate? Yeah, I think you could have delayed it because like they said a Charlie drill takes 45 minutes. Had they enacted the Charlie drill right when this flag was waved that there was a problem, it would have delayed people by an hour. It would have been
Yeah.
relatively, would it have affected everyone? Sure, it would have been minimal, if at all, That's one. Two, why was there not an order to not clean the room?
Right. That was
Bare minimum. Bare
right.
minimum. preserve
Yeah.
it. You and I are not like FBI,
Very.
but like we should be. But I'm like,
I know.
the bare minimum is you
Yeah.
do not contaminate a crime scene or a
Right.
potential crime scene or anywhere that has evidence. So the
Yeah.
last place she was seen was on the outside of her room on the balcony. That is the most important thing to preserve. They clean the entire room. So we have no idea of and anything. We don't have
Yeah,
I
we
mean
don't
there's
know
so
if
much.
she pushed it or not. We don't know if she
We
pushed
don't know
that
if she pushed
table
it,
at
if she
all.
got
Or
sick. Is there an evidence of her
yeah.
having been sick on the deck? Is there
Yeah.
like any of her belongings that were out there that had been moved to another spot? We don't,
Yeah.
it could have told us a lot. So I think that like he's a terrible person in every way and terrible at his job and all the things. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he was involved, but I do think that like I think he's going to watch it and be like, "Oh, I have to imagine say like I can't believe I come off like such an asshole." And I don't think it's from like villain editing. I think it's cuz
No,
like
I think
he
that's just straight up what he was
I think
saying.
he
Yeah.
straight up said like, "Hey, she fell overboard and that's one
Yeah.
family's tragedy and that sucks, but
Yeah.
sucks to suck." That's like that was
Yeah.
the nature of it. Yeah, he was pretty unbearable, but like I said, I saw some people online saying I think him and Yellow were in on it. I'm like, no, I don't.
No, I saw that too. And I'm like, that is, well, for this one woman, that's the other thing. If they're going to, wouldn't they try to traffic multiple? I don't know. Why would they just take
Yeah,
one person? And
why is she the
why
one
this
you
girl?
decided?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think crime of opportunity, like, do I think it's possible that like, Yellow and her, I don't know their interactions, but he's like, hey,
Yeah.
she seems like an easy target. She is receptive to my advances. She's
Yeah.
whatever. I have no idea what the conversations, but could she have said something that triggered him to thinking she was an easy target? Sure, I do
Yeah.
not think everyone on the ship was like, that's the one. Let's kidnap
Right.
that person.
Yeah.
That's
Like what
insane.
the
And
way
she
her
doesn't,
parents are, basically what the
no, and
parents
she
are
doesn't
saying. Yeah.
fit the physical type that I would think of as what someone would target as
Yeah.
in that way. It didn't like hold water for me. But yeah, I mean, I think the part that always was weird to me when it comes to the conspiracy stuff was I think it happened before Amy went missing that all of her pictures that were taken on the ship
Yes.
disappeared. And that always
That's
really
super
bothered me.
weird. That's super
Hmm.
weird. That is, there are little weird, subtle things like that, details that you're like, why would that happen?
Right, then that seems like
Yeah.
conspiracy. The cruise ship didn't
Yeah.
want and I'm like, no, I don't. I still
Unless
can't get my
whoever
brain.
took her took the picture, it was like obsessed with her or
Right, I
something.
mean, I like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't. And then I mean, then it gets into the daughter's call,
Yes, I
with
want to ask you
Yellow.
about that. Yeah. What did you think of that? Because I know some people were like, "Oh, this was pointless." Um,
Yeah, like I mean, as someone like from a entertainment, I don't
yeah,
like that word, from a true crime
yeah,
docuseries standpoint, like it kind of reminded me not in any level of the same impact, but I don't know if you saw the documentary Navalny.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yes. So they have
yes,
the phone call, like
yes,
when they're making the
yes,
call and getting them to
yes,
admit stuff. Now, it's like to me, that's one of the great moments in modern documentaries
yes.
ever. Like
I
it really
agree.
is genuinely mind-blowing. That is an example, obviously, of someone making one of these covert calls, trying to get information for the sake of a documentary that totally like blew open a case and
Yes,
did all the things, right?
yeah,
This felt like they were like, look, we're gonna nail him, we're gonna get it. And then it was like genuinely like nothing. Like
yeah.
it felt like, I don't know, I from a filmmaking standpoint, I was like, you've really like up the tension, like look what
Right,
you're about to
yeah,
get. And then it was like like
yeah,
nothing. I think one, like I do think Yellow is guilty to some degree. I don't know if he's
yeah,
just a mule. I don't know. I don't know what where he falls on the food chain of trafficking and involvement. Do I think
yeah.
he's involved? I do. Do I think it's like brave of his daughter if she believes that to be part of it? Absolutely. She wasn't born when it happened.
Right.
She's getting, you know,
Secondhand details from her mother, who was not
they're
in the
divorced.
docu.
Yes, who
Yeah,
hates her
yeah,
dad. So do I
yeah,
think that is like very, very like muddy territory? Yeah. Like I
yeah.
don't think it adds anything. It said that, and the part that gave me like, I don't know about this is that the mother said that she found a suitcase full of pictures of Caucasian women in
Yes.
his and like I guess that would lead me to think like, are you saying this is is like dossier of trafficking victims?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
like I don't believe that to be true because I don't think tens of white or hundreds of white women have gone missing off Royal Caribbean and
Right.
nobody made it. No, like we would know about that.
Right. But he
So
might like have some sort of like obsession with it, and he could have been the one to take the photo from
that's
the,
true. He could be
yeah,
like he could
and had
have
been,
some,
yeah,
yeah. So
and
that's
try. There still could be some sort of accidental death where maybe she followed him off at right after, and
and
like
something happened.
something
Yeah.
happened, and then he
But what would
panicked
those
and
photos be? That
I
was the thing. Is like
know.
it didn't give me information that was like, oh
Yeah.
man, yeah, yellow. Like I wanted more to be like, oh, I have this information about, I don't know, his behavior after they said it was weird.
Right.
Okay, but that's very like that doesn't give me
Yeah.
anything. But like we found this suitcase full of white women pictures, and I was like, okay, well, those aren't all victims.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
I don't know, out of thinking there's something wrong with this guy, or he might have some kind of sick perversion or
Yeah.
affiliation with something that's wrong. They didn't identify those pictures to be linked to any other things that
Yeah.
were evidence enough for me to like think anything in particular. There is a bit of evidence that was in past um, specials on this that was left out here that was really weird to me. I don't know why they would leave it out, but in one of the past specials I saw, and my brain is a little fuzzy on it, Brad Bradley, Amy's brother, had said that when they had said like, to the cruise director or whatever, the Amy's missing, they were frantic, looking everywhere before the announcement had made or been before any kind of widespread knowledge had been made about it. Apparently, Yellow came up to Brad and while they were all frantic said, sorry about your sister with a smirk on his face. This is in
Oh.
a past special. It was left out of this one. I swear it's happened. You could Google it. And so that is crazy to me.
Yeah.
That's really, they
Yeah.
said that it was said with a specific energy that was very like, again, someone is in a very bad mental space. I can't
Yeah.
fully, but that was what was relayed that he had information about Amy missing before it was made public. Do I think
Yeah.
that Yellow is getting the cruise? Like, no, Yellow was
Yeah.
a band player. He
Yeah.
wouldn't be on
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
need to know basis with like
Right.
higher
Yeah.
ups of a crisis. So like,
Right.
yeah, if I had a guy come up to me and say something about my missing relative who went missing an hour ago that no one knew about, yeah, I would say you're
Yeah.
the guiltiest person I've ever seen in my life,
Yeah.
but I don't know why that would be omitted from this out unless there was some reason to believe
Yeah.
something might be dubious about it, but it was
Yeah.
definitely said by Brad in one of the past specials. So that was also why I always was so like Yellow did it. Because like that one
Yeah.
bit just I couldn't shake it, but it was left out of this special. The other thing that was left out, which is very weird, if you've watched Netflix documentaries, this would have been like catnip for them, was that the Bradleys were scammed out of like
Yes.
$300,000.
By a PI, right?
Yeah,
Because
by someone
yes,
who
I
pretended to be like ex-Navy SEALs, private investigator who said, I've seen Amy, I know where she is, I can get her out, whatever.
that's
And
heartbreaking.
it's
That is so
heartbreaking. And
heartbreaking.
that to me, like based on like how they're, they give us like herrings and like are,
Yeah.
getting you worked up and then reeling you back and changing the plot and changing, the direction they're trying to steer you in. I was like, that seems like a whole fourth episode.
I thought that too, and I felt like the
Mhm.
third episode kind of just like petered out at the end.
It
Like it just
did.
kind of, yeah. And so that would have been really, that could have been, you're right, the fourth episode, or even like
And
concluding the third one.
and sometimes I wonder if like, and the Netflix documentary did feel like it very much had a specific direction it was leading us in, which was
Mhm.
she is a trafficking victim. Like they
Yes.
are very much like this is not like a documentary that I looked at that was really trying to like give me all the options. I felt like they were
Oh
steering the
yeah.
direction very directly there. And look, that's the direction I agree with, but like
Yeah.
I think that the PI thing is just more ammo to say, look, these people could be not telling the truth, these eyewitnesses. And
Right.
so I felt like them leaving it out felt like they didn't want to give any more ammo to the idea of like, yeah, what people say could be bullshit. Anyone who says
Right.
they see her, it is just something someone is saying. This guy said it and scammed them out of hundreds of thousands. So again, it's kind of similar to the her sexual like identity thing is that like them leaving it out in the Netflix special felt to me like better for the narrative they were crafting rather than better for for us to have all the information to make up our own mind. I'm like, why would you leave out that they were scammed
Right.
out of hundreds of thousands? It didn't have to be a whole episode. It didn't have to be too long, but it's certainly a
Yeah.
pertinent element of the case.
Yeah. Because I also thought that I really wish they would have explored the idea of that, that's how do we know that what these people are seeing is real? Because I'm thinking of like Brian Laundrie with Gabby Petito. Everyone
Of
thought they
course.
saw him when he was
Mhm.
dead the whole time. And I
Right.
was reading on Reddit, other people were saying, like, remember the story of like people kept saying they saw this family and they were dead the whole time. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something there. And I kind of wish that they had kind of gone in that direction, or just like at least touched upon it, because I do think, like, do you think that
Mhm.
all of those interviews, those people who saw her, do you think they're all credible, or do you think, like, I feel like the one guy who wakes up every day thinking about it, how he could have helped, I feel like he's sincere. I wasn't sure about the
Mhm.
other ones. I wasn't sure about, but I wanted to
Yeah.
find out what you thought.
Yeah, it's hard because like, do I think they're all like I I struggle with it because on one hand, I tell myself either I think someone is lying from scratch, like they have made up a lie, which people do all the time. Some people are sociopaths,
Yeah.
or I think these people saw a white woman who was in distress in on these islands, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's Amy, but either they are lying totally, which is crazy, but again,
Yeah.
possible, or they did experience someone in distress, right? There's only two
Right.
options that exist as far as I'm concerned. And I don't think the lie serves them. They didn't get money, they didn't get award money,
Right.
they didn't get
Yeah.
fame, they didn't really get, I mean, they got attention in the sense that they're in
Yeah.
this, that like they've been telling the same story for over 10 years. These same people are
Yeah.
in the other specials. So like,
Wow.
and then furthermore, I think that of all the people, specifically the guy who was in the Navy,
Yeah.
the one who said he saw her in the secret bar, which is like really a
Yes,
brothel.
that
Yeah,
guy. Yes.
he comes off badly. And he knows he
Mhm.
comes off badly. Like, I mean, for me, I'm like, what kind of man are you? Like, I was
Right.
very like, I have no forgiveness. I don't care if you thought you were going to get in trouble. Like, a woman
Yeah.
tells you she's Amy Bradley and that she's been trafficked or she's
Yeah.
being held against her will, and you're worried about like getting demoted or losing
Right.
privileges. Yeah, that sucks. Like, but like, I just think that the consequences to him were so minor compared to the impact, the severity of the situation that this woman was in, if we're to believe that
Yeah.
that's what he experienced, that he only looks bad. There's nothing, I would
Yeah.
never want someone to know that I said, yeah, I saw a kidnapped kid, but like I didn't want to get in trouble, so I was like, peace. Like
Yeah.
I would never, if I did that, I would never want anyone to know that. I would take that to my
Right.
grave. So like to me, what what would he gain by lying?
Right. Yeah.
It's a weird story, but I'm also like, I don't
Yeah.
see why, I don't see what the lie does for you. So I
Yeah.
have to believe you experienced something. It might not have
Yeah.
been Amy, but like, I can't create the motive for what this would do. So like, do I think he encountered I guess he said Southern, white
Yeah.
woman who he said her name was Amy Bradley. Do I think
Yeah.
he said this so many years later, though, that I'm inclined to believe could it been Amy? Absolutely. I also think that there's a chance that he saw this special later and yeah, did she say her name was this? Like
Yeah.
and piece together,
Yeah.
like sometimes the power of suggestion, I
Yeah.
think, informs some of some elements of the sighting. So no, I'm not entirely sure that the her saying her name is fully credible, but I think all of them came in contact with, it doesn't have to be the same woman, but did have experiences in Curacao or Barbados or somewhere.
Yeah.
But and it's interesting, the guy that has become obsessed with it, I mean, I believe he saw something. It
Yeah.
triggered his brain in such an aggressive way. But his sighting was interestingly enough the least detailed.
Yeah. Oh, he
It was
just
like there was
noticed
no
like the
story.
tattoo. Yeah, it was just like she came up to him, was gonna say something, she didn't. The
And there were
guy
two
with her.
men.
Yeah, and he was just kind of like
And he
weird.
claims one is yellow, which is also, then we
Right.
go way further. Now we're saying that not only was yellow involved, now yellow has been back to the scene of the
Right.
crime to
Yeah.
assist in trafficking her.
Right.
Because he had to have
Yeah.
gone back on the ship and continued on
Right.
with the cruise as usual, we're assuming, and then went back to Curacao. So that starts to get, ooh, that's a lot of steps for my brain. I think he just
Right.
helped selling her, and now he's on to the
Right.
next.
Yes.
So I thought the yellow sighting, I didn't buy that that guy was
Yeah.
yellow. If it was Amy, I didn't think her, you know, the guy who was like with her was yellow. And I saw people on Reddit saying like, the people are making a lot about this Tasmanian devil tattoo, and they're like, that was like literally, like, you act like that's so unique. That was like the
Right.
go-to. And great, I don't have any tattoos, but
Right. I
like,
don't either. But
yeah, but like
yeah.
they said, if you went in like the 90s to a tattoo
Yes.
place, that like literally this is like one of the first things you'll see. It was like
Yes.
very, very common. So, do I think it would be weird if you saw a green-eyed, short, dark hair
Yeah.
woman acting oddly who had a Tasmanian devil tattoo? Yeah, I think that would
Yeah.
be a valid reason to think it's Amy, but like just throwing it out there that that tattoo wasn't as like unique or
Right. It
distinctive
wasn't. You're
as
absolutely right. I never
as
even thought of that.
neither
That's
did
really
I. I mean, it's unique to me. I would be like,
right.
that's an interesting
Right. I would
tattoo.
never pick that as a tattoo.
Oh, no, I would never get that. I'd get a Babygirl tattoo. I'd be
I
like,
know. Absolutely. Yes.
like mini glass of milk.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I think that it clearly struck something with him, but it was such a minor moment in his life, and it was so fleeting, and he put so much weight on it after seeing that this woman went missing. It wasn't
Yeah.
like he was like investigating, oh my God, I just saw a crime. Like
Right.
he saw something odd, it triggered a thing in his brain, and then it just
Yeah.
left, he went on with his life and never thought about it, is my assumption. And then when he saw this, it's almost like an aha moment. I believe that he saw something weird. I think it could have been Amy. The case that was the one that I think is the hardest for me to believe was the one with the woman in the bathroom.
Yeah. That was the one I was kind of like,
Her
I don't
story is
know.
strange. Even the
Yeah.
way, even the stuff she's saying, they were saying felt like a bad crime movie.
Yeah.
Like the deal
Yeah.
is being done at 11 o'clock. You better
Right.
be ready. And I was like, again, this is a serious situation, not to diminish it. Could that have happened? That's terrible. It's just the way she was relaying it felt like if I was having an older woman, right? Like what a drug deal looks like going
Yes.
down.
Yes.
Like if I
Yes.
asked ChatGPT, write a drug deal scene, and it was like the most like, let me narrate how I don't think people talk, what they were saying, and this woman's hearing it. Do I think she's intentionally lying? Not really. I just it feels a bit far-fetched, and she's really laying it on thick in the story enough for me to just kind of not.
Yeah.
I give it the least weight. I think the two
Yeah.
men I thought had more that they offered in the story for me to
Yeah.
believe it.
I did too. What do you make of the photo? Do you think that's actually her, the iconic photo that was sent anonymously?
It looks like her to me. I mean, the problem with it is that the styling is so 80s, aggressively 80s, and this
Yeah,
took
that's
place in
true.
it.
Like,
She was
so
went
that would have
missing.
been early 2000s.
Yeah, she went missing
Yeah.
in 98.
98.
In
Yes.
98, and this photo came many years later.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if we're talking 2005 or
Yeah, I think
what.
that's around the time when they got it too. Yeah.
So like do I think that a prostitution ring in Barbados chose to get this like super teased hair, and even I guess you
Yeah.
could. I mean, I was like, this is the very strange way to style someone in the 2000s. It looks a lot like her, and I mean, even the
The
I don't know if it was the
forensics people.
FBI.
Yeah.
Yeah, forensic people are
Yeah.
like, I'm always fascinated by how we like identify that someone looks like someone beyond like
Yeah.
they similar. Like, I mean, they were measuring like the distance from her lip to her chin, the distance of the position of her
Yeah.
ears, and like, I mean, many elements of that checked out as a match. So I think it could be. I mean, if I saw that of my family member who went missing, I definitely would probably give it a lot of like, I would put a lot of belief in it just because it's a little too striking.
Yeah.
Especially, it was like clearly a white woman in
Yeah.
a Caribbean prostitute.
Yes.
Again, there's a lot of like leaps that I don't think there are a lot of those in my very limited knowledge that I would say that's weird.
Yeah.
Um, so
A lot
yeah,
of people
I
were like, why
mean,
didn't they? Somebody was like, why didn't they buy her services
right.
after they saw? But I think it was just the photo they were sent, right? They weren't sent a link,
I
right?
think they eventually found the
They'll
link,
just,
but I
yeah,
don't know if it was like this was from many years ago. Like it
yeah,
wasn't like I don't know if my memory of it was that it wasn't currently active, or it was from long enough ago that they didn't believe it to be current. I mean,
yeah,
my thing, and keeping in mind that a lot of this comes with like privilege of like having the money to send a private investigator, having these resources. But like my thing would be, if I thought it was her, I'm like, guess we're moving to Barbados.
right,
Like,
yeah,
like
yeah,
if I believe that that photo is her, then I believe she isn't in Barbados. Then we need to freaking
yeah,
go to this place and just scour every inch. And easier said than done.
right,
Well,
yeah,
it's a whole place. It's not like a one cruise ship or one
right.
room. But I do think that like the fact that Barbados started coming up multiple times is peculiar because
With the IP addresses, which is
the IP
also,
addresses,
yes,
if the woman
yeah,
claims that the bathroom interaction happened in Barbados, I can't remember if the photo, what country was the photo from?
was it, is
Was it
Carousel
Venezuela?
or,
I,
oh,
I
is that what it
I
was?
can't
Yeah,
remember. So I don't think the picture was from Barbados, but we know that the bathroom interaction that the woman had was in Barbados, and then we know that the IP address that they
yes,
reveal at the end, that every year there's an IP, a specific IP address in Barbados that is visiting the Amy Bradley is Missing website on the birthdays of family members, on holidays like Thanksgiving and other
yeah,
like key dates.
yeah,
I'm I think that's really unusual. And they said not only is this Barbados IP address visiting it annually at different times of year on what they claim are key dates, it also is staying on the website for at least 45 minutes, like which is
yeah,
very unusual. I think, if you or I are on the internet and end
right.
up on a random site, like even if I'm interested in true crime, reading about something,
I'm
10
not
minutes would be
staying on
pushing
there.
it.
Yeah,
No, I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
if I was so fascinated by what I was reading and I'm reading articles and stories and actually like, you know, something
Yeah.
that would take you a long time to read, okay, then I'm on it as long as it takes me to read. If it's captured my interest enough, and it probably hasn't. 45 minutes is really pushing it. And for it to be a
Yeah.
regular occurrence from an IP address, as I assume as random as Barbados,
Yeah.
considering the case, I think that's strange, but I also just have a hard time believing that she's visiting her website on these dates. So she's linked enough to it, but like not even sending a message. Like, even if it was, she clearly has computer access.
Yeah.
There are forums, I'm sure, on the website that say, give us a tip. I think if she was worried about her safety, like visiting the website was already infringing on
Yeah.
that enough. I think like at the very least, I would expect that someone would say like, I'm here, send a message, even if it wasn't, even if she's, they said she could be worried about her if she has kids.
Yeah. If she has
Like,
kids.
but I would think that some kind of communication would be made, even if it wasn't a matter of come pick me up here or
Right.
something. I would just think that if she's regularly visiting the website, that that would kind of prompt her to reach out. So I don't know what it is, but I also like cynically, I think that like she would be in her 50s now. I have
Yeah.
a really hard time believing that somebody has been trafficked since their early 20s and like at this point she would have aged out of
That's yeah.
that being a sex worker. I just don't think they would have, not found her useful for that anymore. And like my assumption is that these people are like on a lot of drugs, like forced drug use to get them to even be able
Yeah.
to function. So like
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing under the circumstances that she would be alive in her 50s and just like living, you know,
Yeah.
living in the islands,
Yeah.
as,
Yeah.
a normal free life. I just I don't think that anyone is putting the work towards like keeping somebody in, under lock and
Right.
key. It's just
Yeah.
not worth anyone's time. This is a
Yeah.
trafficking ring. I just don't think it's worth I don't think they'd keep her alive long enough to worry about her into her 50s.
Right. Even if she had kids too, which she could have kids, but like
She could, but I
they
don't think they'd keep her. And that's again, it's a
no.
really negative and really
Yeah.
terrible
It's
thing, but I just don't think anyone is, she doesn't have any money for herself. I don't think anyone is worrying about feeding her and taking care of her. And
yeah.
it just doesn't make sense to me. So like, and I think that like, if we're to take the sightings at their word, I don't think we've heard anything in a really long time. So that there was information from like what 1998 to like
Yeah. Like
I'm gonna guess
2005. And then
2005. Was
yeah,
there
I feel like
anything after that? I'm like looking up the like
maybe
timeline of
2000, maybe 2010 or something there might have been.
yeah, I
I can't
see.
remember.
Oh, see, this is what I see. I see 2005 is the FBI got some kind of call. It's around the same time when the woman in Barbados claims she saw her in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Then the last update I see is that in 2010, a jawbone washes ashore in Aruba, initially thought connected to Natalie Holloway. No DNA test link it to Amy, but for some reason, what I read online is that they never did a DNA test on this. Like they never like did any investigation. They never checked it. So a lot of people were really upset because they felt that like
Yeah.
this is relevant to more than one case. Like they're mentioning Natalie Holloway, they're mentioning Amy Bradley. So like, it seems worth looking into.
Yeah.
No matter the case, whether it's them, whether it's someone from Aruba, I would think that it was, but that was in 2010. So I know that was something that a
Wow.
lot of people were angry about. So, but all that to say, I have no reason to think that's linked to Amy. That's again a lot of mental gymnastics
Yeah.
to get there.
Right.
So the last like credible bit of evidence comes in 2005, which is a really short period of time from when she
Yeah.
disappeared. So like,
Yeah. She could have
do
died after that, really.
yeah, I
Like
mean,
right after
they
that.
could have,
Yeah.
any number of things. She's in really like if this did happen, she's in really distressful situation. I don't expect someone to be able to make it that many years,
Yeah.
unfortunately, through that. So like that's 2005. I have a hard time believing in 2025. 20 years
Yeah.
later, she's like on amybradleyismissing.com and
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm, it's in someone said maybe it's her kids. I think the kids would then write something or reach out.
Right.
Or if
Yeah.
someone is someone's obsessed enough to visit the site regularly, I think that they would be like
Yeah.
reaching out in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, I mean that one I'm gonna assume is not her, and it could be somebody. And a
So
friend
it's
told
just
me that.
like somebody just fucking around being a
Someone's
jerk
fucking
too. Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
or like, I mean, I also know that like a friend said that you can like spoof your IP address or make it look like, and I don't know about any of this, but like make it appear to be from a different location. I have no idea how that
Oh.
works. Could somebody be trying to, like, true crime fans are also like totally crazy sometimes. They want to feel like part of the case. I've
Yeah.
seen in other true crime stuff that I've watched, I've seen people make really creepy videos that looked like they were trying to insinuate they were part of the case, and then the FBI investigates and they are literally just a fanboy or, deranged
Yeah.
follower of the case. So like there are so many things when it comes to that, especially in the internet, that like I wouldn't really trust that, just because if I knew about the case, a lot of other people did, as much as it
Yeah.
wasn't popular or well known on the scale of, John Benet Ramsey or Natalie Holloway or Madeleine McCann. That doesn't mean that it, you
Yeah.
know, thousands upon thousands of people, millions
Yeah.
know about this. So like I would say the internet starts to get into like crazy person territory.
Yes, absolutely. As we start to wrap up here, this has been so much fun talking. You know
Yeah.
so much about this. I wanted to highlight two of the most chilling moments for me
Yes.
of the series were one, I was so sad when Brad Bradley, said he's like never had children because he's watched his parents, what he's watched his parents go through. I thought that was such a sad moment. And then
Yeah.
the other thing that just like really chilled me was her ex-girlfriend in that letter within the
The
message in
message
the
in a bottle.
bottle. That was so wild and just like
Yeah.
creepy. I didn't know
Yeah,
if you
that
had
was
any moments that you, yeah, were kind of like creeped out
totally.
by. Yeah.
Those, I had one friend that like, we were talking about this and we were both giving our theories and just like very, perplexed by all of it. And she was really disturbed by the message in a bottle moment. And I mean, obviously I was too. I thought that was like really heartbreaking. What was interesting as another friend in relation to that, she's like, this is, she was saying, I think that message in a bottle, the water link and saying I'm going to be at sea, or I don't remember the phrasing, but like she was like, isn't this proof of suicide? And
Oh,
my other friend was like, I think she was about to go on a cruise. So she had like cruise and ocean analogy on the brain. You know,
yeah.
sometimes you're writing something and you're getting a little emotional, and like, the brain is very, complex and mysterious. I think I'm about to get on a cruise tomorrow. Could you have been, insinuate using that analogy,
Yeah.
obviously unintentionally because it was what you were front of mind. That's what I guess. Because again, I just don't think that it makes the suicide thing makes any sense. Even if,
Yeah.
and it's really sad because when something happens, people say she was having a hard time. I think we're all having a hard time in some way, shape, or form. So like I
Yeah.
would really hate if something happened to me for someone to say, well, I had a discussion with Lauren and she was really upset about XYZ. I'm like, I'm upset about a lot all the time. Like I'm a Jewish woman. I'm stressing about something 24/7. So like please never think I said something and be like, clearly she killed herself. I was like, nope. Like didn't. So like I kind of that's kind of what I thought. I was like, yeah, she's
Yeah.
going through a breakup. Like she's
Yes.
20
Yeah.
something. Like, yeah, like life is crazy. Like I just thought that was like it made me sad that someone would hear that
Yeah.
she would struggle with normal things to struggle with. Like,
Yeah.
coming out to her parents, very normal coming, having a breakup or having relationship issues, and then people be like, she was in a bad mental state, so she killed herself. That felt like a lot of forcing a narrative
Yeah.
without
I thought so
much
too.
evidence. She didn't do the things that, the letter is sad, but I don't think there were all the other, warning signs of suicide that we usually
Yeah.
see. But the moment with Brad Bradley made me really sad because I just remember seeing him in the early specials and he was so much younger, 10 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And he looked so much older here. He is older, but like,
Yeah.
I just felt like I could see the like weight of stress on him.
Yeah. His hair's like white. I almost feel like
Yeah.
the whole experience turned his hair white.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like when you see
yeah.
politicians like, before and after their presidencies and you're like
Yeah.
they've aged like 20 years and
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. Like it really made me sad because I mean, there was something about this case that like I think losing a loved one is traumatic for the rest of your life. No matter what happens, you
Yeah.
never recover. But like I almost wish that like it sounds bad to say that I almost think it would have been better for them if they found her body and she had
I agree.
washed ashore. Of course, we all
Yeah.
want to believe that our loved one is still alive and we're going to be reunited. That
Yeah.
is, that is, of course, what I would want for them. But like, the idea that there was no finality to it, or that they
Yeah.
think that their loved one is in distress and that they need to live to find them, or that that
Yeah.
is going to continue. I'm like, I think they all could have lived as full of lives as possible had
Yeah.
it been considered a closed,
Case. Yeah.
case, death. I think that it would have changed. They all would have been able to move on as best they can. I think he could have, recovered from that. But like,
Yeah.
I genuinely think that like seeing what his parents went through, and I mean, I sort of felt that too. That like you're like, oh my God, I don't think I would ever be able to like think about anything else for the rest of my
Right.
life. And you're like,
Yeah.
could I imagine? I just couldn't even
Yeah.
fathom that type of thing. So that was really, really hard for me. That was probably the hardest moment for me also.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just and in general, like I think Iva Bradley, like every time it cut to her, that's the mother.
Yeah.
It looked like she couldn't keep it together without
Yeah.
looking like she was halfway towards crying during any
Yeah.
segment she was talking about. And it was really hard because they're talking about this all the time.
Yeah.
And the fact that like this many years later, it's still like as raw as if it was yesterday. I was like, it's really tough. Like it's like you watch true crime and you know, I hate using the word entertainment, but it's a Netflix show that
Right.
is, you know, a source of entertainment. And then you see like the focus on the family, which I did think the show did a good job, is like
Yeah.
showing the emotional turmoil, which is important rather than just like the salacious details.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting, and seeing her friends, and it was really hard. I mean, but the family, because I've seen so many interviews with them, it was hard to see they were so much more worn down in this one than they
Yeah.
were in the ones I saw from 10 years ago.
So
And that
sad.
just seemed, I think the moment that was the hardest for me, other than Brad mentioning never having a family because of the emotional impact, was when they say that they have her car, that they keep it polished. And it
Yeah.
almost like when I heard that, it was one of those things where I was like, you could tell that like it's not really that's not really what they should be doing. That's not necessary. It's
Right.
a symbol to them. And you could tell I was like, I almost wish that they could, kind of try to
Move on a little.
take the
Yeah.
next step, but like
Yeah.
them keeping that car as a symbol that she'll be home tomorrow. It's like I don't have a lot of hope that that's going to happen. So it was really hard to see them say
Yeah.
every day, tomorrow. I just could
Yeah.
only hope that like the attention from a show this big gives them some kind of something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, I think the moment with the car and the moment with the brother were probably the most like heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, there goes my
So
microphone.
hard.
Um, well, this is, like I said, it's been such a great conversation. I so enjoyed
Yeah,
talking about this with you. Even though it's so sad, it's just
I
that
know.
you know so much about it. And yeah, thank you for this was great.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, so we usually do a flash forward at the end. So you mentioned you were going to New York. So do you want to what are you looking forward to this week?
Yeah, I'm going to New York with some friends, which I'm super excited about. Hopefully, going to some Broadway shows, and I want to get my friends to go see Oh Hi. That's what we
Ah,
talked
yes,
about.
they have to.
I know it's
Yes.
like the ultimate like girls outing. I feel like,
Yes.
I'm always in for a man hating. Not that the movie's a man hating movie, but
Right.
like let's just like shit on how terrible modern dating is. And
Yes, exactly.
I'm always for that. And then I'm going the following week, I'm going to see the Backstreet Boys in Vegas. So I essentially feel like I'm living in the 90s/2000s.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
that's what I'm here for. But yeah, there's so many like good movies coming out. I mean, like I know Oh Hi is just coming out. I can't wait for people to see that. I'm so excited for people to see Together. I'm not sure if you've
Oh, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm dying to
Oh
see
my
it. I can't
God,
wait.
it is such a trip. And so I just feel like, and I've been following all the news out of Venice and TIFF and all these exciting, movie premieres that are coming up. So
Yeah.
I just feel like it's going to be a really exciting year.
Oh, me too. Can't wait. Well, thank you so much. I'm Megan McLachlan. A big thank you to Lauren Cohen for joining us. Where can we find you? But by the way, do you want to share where we can find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Lauren Cohen Film.
Great. till next time, good night. Have a pleasant tomorrow.